You'll Never Walk Alone. It is May of 2020, and I do not have a brain well suited to this. I find more and more that I refer to it as it and this, without naming or needing to name, because we are sharing the rare human experience so ubiquitous that the pronouns require no antecedent. Horror and suffering abound in every direction, and I want writing to be a break from it. But still, it makes its way in, like light through window blinds, like floodwater through shut doors. I suppose you are listening to this in my future. Maybe you're listening in a future so distant from my present that this is over. I know it will never fully end. The next normal will be different from the last one. But there will be a next normal, and I hope you are living in it. And I hope I am living in it with you. In the meantime, I have to live in this and find comfort where I can. For me, lately, comfort has meant a show tune. In 1909, the Hungarian writer Ferenc Molnár debuted his new play, Lilium, in Budapest. In the play, Lilium, a troubled and periodically violent young carnival barker, falls in love with a woman named Julie. When Julie becomes pregnant, Lilium attempts a robbery to support his burgeoning family, but the robbery is a disaster, and Lilium dies. He ends up in purgatory for 16 years, after which he is allowed a single day to visit his now teenaged daughter, Louise. Lilium flopped in Budapest, but Molnár was not a playwright who suffered from a shortage of self-belief. He continued mounting productions around Europe, and then eventually in the U.S., where a 1921 translation of the play attracted good reviews and moderate box office success. The composer Giacomo Puccini tried to adapt Lilium into an opera, but Molnár refused to sell him the rights because he wanted, quote, Lilium to be remembered as a play by Molnár, not as an opera by Puccini. Instead, Molnár sold the rights to Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein, the musical theater duo who were fresh off the success of Oklahoma. In doing so, Molnár ensured that Lilium would be remembered almost exclusively as a musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein, retitled Carousel, which premiered in 1945. In the musical, Rodgers and Hammerstein's song You'll Never Walk Alone is sung twice, first to encourage the newly widowed Julie after her husband's death, and then by Louise's classmates years later at a graduation ceremony. Louise doesn't want to join in the song. She's too upset. But even though her father is now invisible to her, Louise can feel his presence and encouragement, and so eventually she starts to sing. The lyrics of You'll Never Walk Alone contain only the most obvious imagery. The song tells us to walk on through the wind and through the rain, which is not a particularly clever evocation of a storm. We are also told to walk on with hope in your heart, which feels aggressively trite. And it reports that, quote, at the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. But in reality, at the end of the storm, there are tree branches strewn everywhere, and downed power lines, and flooded rivers. And yet, the song works for me. Maybe it's the repetition of the words walk on. I think two of the fundamental facts of being a person are, one, we must go on, and two, none of us ever walks alone. We may feel alone, In fact, we will feel alone. But even in the crushing grind of isolation, we aren't alone. Like Louise at her graduation, those who are distant or even gone are still with us, still encouraging us to walk on.